There is really nothing to do when we're talking about enlightenment and awakening. People will ask, what do I need to do to wake up or become enlightened? And that is totally the wrong question. If we define enlightenment and awakening or self-realization as waking up and no longer being fooled by the ego, then what is it that the ego can do to wake up? Because anything done is going to be done with the ego. There is nothing to do. There never was anything to do. There never will be anything to do for the ego to achieve or gain enlightenment. Enlightenment is waking up and seeing through the mirage of the ego and the me. And in order for that to occur, there has to be a ceasing to do. Any doing, as I said, would be done by the ego. And the ego cannot escape the ego. It's a never-ending cycle and chain that cannot be broken. And people will spend years. I've met spiritual seekers that have been on the paths for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And they're still seeking. The trick is to stop seeking. To simply stop. There's a certain amount of maturity, some would call it, when you're tired of seeking and you're willing to give it all up. It's almost an addiction of its own accord. It's not something that should be carried on forever. As long as you're looking around and seeking, you can't realize you're already here. And so I recommend that we cease to do. Just be still. Be quiet. And do nothing. Cease to do. Cease making the effort. Enlightenment truly is effortless. There is nothing we do for it to occur. Any effort we make will hinder, because it's only perpetuating and strengthening the sense of I, the doer, the ego, and it doesn't weaken it at all. So, cease doing. Cease making the effort. Can you see that it is this constant search and seeking that is reinforcing the I, the me, the ego? It's a very important point that should be recognized deeply. And I find, even in my own conversations over the years, people look at it too shallowly and continue on to the next thing before they deeply understand this. There is nothing for the ego to do. There's nothing I can do to awaken. It happens, but it's not a willed action. Just like when you're going to bed at the evening and you want to go to sleep, there's nothing you can willfully do. You can't will yourself asleep. There's no way to willfully go to sleep. The more that you try to fall asleep, the more likely you're going to stay awake. If you've ever watched yourself and just kind of observe what's going on, you let the day go, you release, and you just start drifting off and you let it happen. Next thing you know, you're out cold. And then morning comes. Same thing. We need to fall awake. There's nothing we can do. We can't willfully wake up. And yet, there are hundreds, there are thousands of seekers out there still convinced they can do something. There is some book, there is some teacher, there's some audio tape, there's some videotape, there's some podcast, there's something out there that will give me that little something I need to wake up. And of course, there's nothing out there that will do this. It is more of a eureka. It just happens. It occurs. You ever try to surprise yourself? It's impossible. You cannot be surprised on yourself. People can surprise you. Situations can occur that surprise you. But it's nothing that you do that will make yourself surprised. But we're convinced we can do something. And that's one of the biggest obstacles there are. We need to finally realize deeply, not so much in the head. The head can say they believe, and yet the heart's not in it, and it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of like someone who says that, they believe such and such, or they're in for some cause, but you can tell that their heart's not in it. They're not really motivated. They're not really trying. It's, there's something to the phrase, the heart's not in it. The head may be in it, may sound like a good idea, but the heart's going no way. The heart is really in control here. So it is a deeper understanding, a realization, not so much in the head, it's out of the head, it's in the body. Deep knowing that there's nothing to find, there's nothing to get, there's nothing to acquire that will cause awakening. There's nothing I can do, there's nothing you can do, there's nothing anyone can do that will cause you to wake up, or me, or anybody else. So, stop. Stop it all. Cease it all. Stop seeking. Stop searching. The answer is here. So close that you can't see it. And so, just stop. There's no need to go anywhere. Just stop. Stay still. Be silent. And see what is here. It doesn't require going anywhere. Another book isn't going to let you find it. Going to another video, another audio, another podcast isn't going to do it for you. It is just stopping, just ceasing, and looking. Almost a turning within. Instead of looking out, we're going to look within. And see what is there. And that is the real key. Is to stop and turn within. But so few don't want to do this. They want to keep going on to the next thing and hope something will happen. Nothing's going to happen. The next thing you find may provide some neat experiences, and for a time it may entertain, but eventually it's going to be unsatisfactory, and you're just going to move on to the next thing. It's an unending chain. There's nothing out in the world that will provide awakening or enlightenment. It's a turning inward, a looking within, to see who and what we are. Who are you? What are you? Fundamental question in many, many traditions of non-duality, including Advaita Vedanta, Zen Buddhism, Jnana Yoga, etc. There's always this fundamental question of who and what are we? And that is the question to answer. No other question is worth answering or looking for an answer for. So look within. I invite you to look and figure out who and what you are.